Hello, my name is Philip Bradley, and I'm the Communications Lead here at Pink College. We're a specialist college for creative education in the UK, focusing on creative study programme pathways for neurodiverse 16 to 25-year-olds. This is an introduction to card game design and making. I'm making this particular how-to for a young man who is very interested in making card games. Because we create a bespoke curriculum for young people based on their interests, I think it's a good idea to create assets that they can learn from. I'm also aware that there are other young people who are interested in making games, so I'm hoping that this asset can be used for them as well. I've made a number of games in the past, and these are the tools that I've used. I'm also showing the use of some AI tools which have only just come out. And the reason that I'm using those is just because they make this demonstration much faster. You don't have to use AI tools, and in some ways it might be much better not to use the AI tools that I'm using here. In this how-to, I'll be using spreadsheets to data merge assets into a program called Adobe InDesign. The benefits of working this way are, if we need to make changes, it's really easy to make changes to one design and have it roll through all of the cards. This is particularly good if you're working on a game which has 100 plus cards. With the spreadsheets, we can have a good idea of what's happening in the game and make sure that it's more evenly balanced. Because we can create card games very, very quickly, we can test our ideas and iterate on them. That means change the ideas in an iterative fashion in order to change it and make it as fun of a game as possible. I hope you enjoy this design sprint, and I hope that it's useful. The card game that I've decided to make for this design sprint is a little bit like a rock, paper, scissors type game, but I'm going to be adding a couple of extra little bits and pieces just because I'm demonstrating how I do these different little bits. So what I'm going to do is, instead of using rock, paper and scissors, I'm going to be using a magic user, a crafter, and a fighter. So same kind of idea, being magic takes fighter, fighter takes crafter, crafter takes magic person. But because I'm adding an extra little element of making it so there's something worth testing, I'm adding a shield part. So you've got the base part, but also if the magic is fighting someone with a shield, then that's going to cancel itself out. If the fighter's fighting maker with a shield, it's going to cancel itself out. And likewise, if the maker is fighting a magic person with a shield, it's going to cancel itself out. And there's going to be double ups, so you can get through the shield anyway. So how am I going to do that? I'm going to be using a spreadsheet in order to create a list of cards that I'm going to want to make. I'm going to create a bunch of images, and I'm also going to create some flavor text. And what we're going to end up with is something like this. We're going to use Photoshop to create some elements. We're going to use AI to generate some elements as well. And we're going to end up with something a little bit like this, where we can generate lots and lots and lots and lots and lots of different cards. For this particular version of the game, I've got 9 cards, which I think is enough to get a playable version, and we can see what happens there. So the first thing that I'm going to do is generate the images, and then I'm going to generate the flavor text. And then I'm going to show you how to put together a document like this, a spreadsheet with essentially what the card type is, what the images that we've generated are, and we're also going to generate some flavor text. And I'm going to try to make sure that that is as easy and fun to do as possible. I will also make sure to put timestamps so you can jump ahead to different parts of the video as you want. So I hope that you find this useful, and I'll see you very soon. Okay, so what we're going to do first of all is make a quick note of the assets that we're going to want to generate. So we're going to be making cards, and I'm going to want some makers. I'm going to be wanting some sword people and some magic people. And then I decided that I would like we'll do this the clever way, and we'll grab all of these, and if we are on a spreadsheet, we can just drag it down and duplicate the thing that we had there. And for these ones, we're going to have it as two makers, or two swords, or two magics. With these ones, we're going to have it as we're going to have two shield, a maker and a shield, and a sword and a shield, and one of them and a shield. And with these ones, we're not going to be giving them any extra attributes. So in order to do that, we're going to have a hero image, and then we are going to have the attribute image 1, attribute image 2. And we're going to generate that content and link the image file to this thing. So that's attribute image 1, attribute image 2, and then we're going to have some flavor text. And because we're doing a really quick generation, ideally we create our own flavor text, but certainly I'm neurodiverse, I'm dyslexic, so I will use the different AIs that are coming towards us at the moment. I'm just going to relog into here. So this is GPT, which has only really just been created. So for flavor text here, I'm going to type in, can you create a funny sentence about a magic user? And then I'm going to allow it to do its job. And here we go. The wizard was so powerful, even his laundry did tricks. To be fair, that's not the funniest thing that it could have generated, but it has generated something. And because we're doing it really, really quickly, we can just copy and paste it in there. So let's see whether it comes up with a better thing for a maker. Can you put together a very funny sentence about a maker? I'm going to say it's a gnome. Gnome Inventor was so small he had to use a microscope to design his miniature creations and a magnifying glass to read the instructions. Okay, that's not terrible. And what I would do is essentially either write my own flavor text for all of these, or for speed, I could use a generator like ChatGPT. So for images, I'm going to be using another AI generator. I wouldn't use this for anything that I was actually creating, but that I was going to put to the public. But in order to use it just as a generative thing, we can use something like this, just because we're absolutely just generating and generating and generating. So I've gone into a newbie room here, and you can see that other people are generating different images already. So how we use this is we go slash, we get an image prompt, and then we type in a description of the prompt that we would like to see here. So I'm thinking, well, a gnome inventor using a microscope to design. Let's have a look and see whether it can design this for me. A gnome inventor using a microscope to design his creations. Cinematic lighting. And it'll generate me something like that. So whilst it's doing that, I'm just going to have a look at one of the things that people have been creating. Here we go. So here we've got a generative thing, and it's a person in a workshop with flood going on around it. You can see these different things. So the U and the V, it goes image 1, image 2, image 3, and image 4. U is upscale, so if we want a large version of one of these, we can upscale it. And V is give me more versions of this particular image. So obviously with this one, if we go up, we'll be able to see the original version of that has been created, and that should be kind of cool. Okay, so I have already generated a bunch of assets for this. I'll just go in here so we can see what we've got. So we've got gnomes, we've got a red dog riding a skateboard from a volcano, a dinosaur playing the guitar, and a bunch of other things, which I thought we could use just for this thing. What I've also done is I've used it to create these logos or buttons or elements. So now I will show you how I created this card background. Okay, So, in order to find a good size for the cards, I've gone to the Game Crafter and found a European poker deck and grabbed the size, downloaded the template. With Midjourney, I generated some card ideas just to give an idea of something that I could use. I need to rasterize the layer in order to adjust it to fit, and I'm going to do this. The reason why I've chosen this generated design is it's got some text on it. It's got a place for logos, and it's got a picture. So it's got all the elements that I wanted to replicate. So now I'm just grabbing a texture thing. If I was doing this for a card design that I was going to be selling, I wouldn't grab just assets off the web. I generate my own things by looking at different textures and things that I might want. So I've decided that this color with the pattern behind it, that kind of gives a sci-fi-ish look to it. So I've flattened that, and I'm just creating a cutout so that the image can be seen, and I've cut that out. And now I'm creating a little text box. And I thought that the color from the generated image wasn't a bad one, so I've used that. But I think it maybe looks a little bit flat, so I'm going to use a different texture. And I thought this dotted, sort of like muddled looking texture didn't look too bad. I'm using a blending option just to sort of make it a little bit less extreme. And I think I end up going for pin light. No, I didn't. I'm going to get rid of the extra information there. So I'm just using another one of those generated images to give myself an idea of what this card is going to look like. What I'm going to do eventually with this asset is I'm going to use it with InDesign so it auto generates, but this gives me an idea of what the card's going to look like. I'm just dropping some shadows in at the moment to make it look a little bit more like I'd like it to look. And I'm dropping an outer shadow on the text box again because I think it's to my own taste. Now I'm just getting rid of everything that's not the card. Just giving it a little bit of a neaten up. Of course, when you're making your own cards, if you decide to make your own cards, you can take as long or as little time as you want to do this. So I'm saving it as a PNG file. If you see the gridded texture behind, that's telling you that it's an invisible part of that particular image. So it's gonna save with transparency, which is what we want because we're going to be putting things behind it. Here I'm selecting the object and I'm taking away the background for the elements that we've designed there. So these are going to be the shield, the sword, the magic icon, different things like that. So in order to get a perfect circle, you hold on to the shift, but putting the guide rulers to the sides of the circle, that makes it easier to get that. I'm saving that in the same folder. Yeah, so with this one, I tried the Magic Wand tool, but actually the AI select object is much easier to just grab that icon. And again, I'm saving it with the transparency. I'm just having a look here at what it will look like with those elements. On the card, I had a little look at the card that was generated just to give an idea of what I might be looking at there. And I think two of them at the side works quite well. Okay, so I did something a little bit silly there, and I didn't record how I got these images in here, so I will do that now. Essentially, what we're doing is we're making sure that when we data merge this file with InDesign, that it's going to be able to find the images. So in order to do that, I've got the file with all the images that we're going to be using here. I'll go to this little and I will say, I'll right click, I'll copy the address, and then I will paste it in. So this tells me where that file is, but it's not necessarily telling me where the image is yet. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to give it another backslash, and then I'm going to find an image that I like for this one. So Pokemon Clink is going to be the image that I'm going to use. I'm going to say rename just so I can copy that name. I'm copying the name rather than just typing it in because I know that I am quite bad at spelling. And then I need to tell it what the file type is. So you might be working in JPEG. I tend to work in PNG files, so .png. And then that will allow InDesign to grab that particular image. You're probably not going to be using the same file format as me because it would be quite unusual for you to have C drive users Bradley HQ for where you've got your images. You'll probably go for somewhere else. But the last part, telling it which image to get from that particular file, that is the one that is important here. So I'm going to pull that over and just edit the last part here. So I'm looking for the sword and shield icon. And there we go. And I'm gonna rename it. There we go. And copy that because I know that I'm likely to make a mistake there. And I'm just gonna paste that in there between the backslash and the .png, and that will give it that particular image attribute. So what I'm going to do now is I'm going to continue filling out these image destinations for all of these. These three I can see are going to be shield, and these three are going to be the same here as is there. The same on the image attribute 1 as attribute 2. So I will do that and then save as a .csv file. So I'll save this now as a .csv file so you know what the next part is. So yeah, what you do is you name your thing. I've put it in the same folder. It might be as an Excel workbook or as a Google Sheets thing. What we do is go all the way down to comma delimited values. It also works in .txt file, but .csv works quite nicely for me. How to make card game is what I'm going to call it. I'm going to save that. So the file that we're going to be working with next will have these in it, but I thought I'd show you how to save first. Yep, I've just opened up InDesign, and what I'm going to do is go to Windows, Utility, and Data Merge. And I'm going to select the data source from How to Card Game, and okay. So example, how to make a card game is what I'm going to go for there. And I can see I've got all the different things in here. I've got the flavor text for hero image, secondary image, different things like that. What I do, however, need is the card game background. So I'm going to just grab one of these fellas, a marquee type, a placement for the image that I want, and I'm going to put in there the card game background. So there we go. Now I'm going to put in another one, there to there, and I'm going to say that I want the hero image to be in there. So every time it previews one of these, it's going to pull in a hero image into that thing. Now I do have a problem here if I preview, being that the hero image is on top of the thing there, and I don't want it to be. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to right click and I'm going to arrange that and send it to the back. So now when I preview it, it's behind the thing there. Okay, so now I want, I'm going to shift that so it's square, and I'm going to put in my first image. So I can preview that, and it's a Tinkery type maker. And then I'm going to do the same again, clicking shift to make sure it stays square, and I'm going to put my second image into that one. Then I'm going to go to the left hand side, grab my text tool. I'm going to put in the flavor text here, and chances are, yeah, so I can see that the flavor text is a little bit too big. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to change the font to Arial, Arial bold, I think, and I'm going to reduce the size of the text to 9, which is still readable in a card size. The Arial text font is going to be particularly nice. So let's have a little look. The gnome tinkerer got so excited about his latest invention that he accidentally launched himself across the room with his own miniature rocket boots. I'm a little bit not great with hyphenated, so where the word is split in two. So I'm going to take that off, and I think that's much nicer. So I'm going to have a little look through here, and I've got the different things going on. So with this one, it's missing those because I've not put in the descriptions well enough. So that's pretty much it. It looks a little bit pixely and different things like that. That's not a problem. Essentially, what InDesign is doing is it's giving us an idea of what we're going to do, and then it renders everything together later on. With the images, though, we might want to change how they look a little bit more. So I think that looks better for this particular little gnome tinkerer. We can change the ratios and different things like that quite easily. So I'm going to grab onto the speller, maybe change him a little bit, do different things to him, and he should be fine. So then it's just a case of saving it. So we go to this little menu pop-up thing here and export to PDF. And yeah, single record, everything there looks fine. I know that the linking that I did for the fighter cards isn't going to be right, but I can show you this part anyway. And here's just saying that the missing images are here, and when I inspect it, yeah, I've just miscopied shield and sword, so it goes shield and sword. Entirely my fault. If I was making this for anything other than just running through how to make it, I would go back and fix that, but as something to show you guys what can go wrong, this is actually quite a good thing, because you can see that when you get to this point, it will tell you what's wrong. So let's continue that. Let's export it. And I want to export it into that folder, and I'm going to call it cards. And save that. It's just doing all of those, and no oversized text was generated during merging of records. Okay, so that should be pretty good. So, let's have a look. Here we go. And there we go. We've got our cards, and they're not looking terrible. We can zoom in a little bit. The defensive gnome tinkerer built a miniature moat around his workshop to protect his inventions, but all it did was attract a colony of tiny ducks. So now that we've got all of these cards, then we can test whether the game plays well. If it doesn't play well, then we can reiterate, change different things. But the essentials of how to put these games together, you've got them. You can make any game that you would like after this. So now I'm going to just go through a couple of different things that you might consider after making your own games. So once you've got your game and you're happy with it, what you could do is you could look at printing the game out and selling it. So some people use print-on-demand services like the Game Crafter. There are other ones available, I find that the Game Crafter is quite good because it's got quite a good community about it, but it is American and therefore has positives and negatives associated with being in America. So you could print them out and sell them. Something that you might consider if you are printing out and selling is going to playtesting environments. So there's Fanboy Free in Manchester who are normally quite good at letting people come in and test their games, but there's also conventions. So there's also the UK Games Expo where you can pay to test your games out with the kind of people who come to that kind of an environment. What you might consider doing is putting your game on something like a tabletop simulator. And the skills that you'll gain by doing something like this are essentially industry type skills. So you're taking the assets, you're putting them into essentially a game engine. So the skills associated with using tabletop simulator would be similar with if you're creating a game in Unreal Engine or Ubisoft's software, though this one is very much geared towards card and tabletop game type scenarios. Or being that we've basically just made a if this then that kind of scenario, you might consider creating a Google Home Hub app or an Alexa skill for if you don't want to go the card route and you want it to be only audio, but you've tested the play kind of style out. You might want to create something using the workflows associated with an Alexa type device or a home device and adapt the games that you've got. So there's a lot of different things that you could take the skills that you've developed here into. Incidentally, if you've got college IDs or anything with your face on it, this is the way that I would make those. So you've developed some pretty cool skills. I hope you've enjoyed this little how-to guide, and if it helps you to do some cool stuff, that's awesome. I really look forward to seeing what you create.